Hi, it's Alex, and I'm here in February at Plas Nant Woods in Coedpoeth in Wrexham to have a little walk, gather some inspiration for my nature journal. So usually I just go for little walks, take lots of photos, bring a couple of ID books, and just get lots of inspiration for things to put on my nature journal pages. So I'm thinking for February I'm going to see things like hazel catkin, there's the snowdrops are going over, and then you've got some like the things are just starting, like maybe primrose, and maybe we'll see some fresh shoots for wild garlic, especially in this woodland. And this woodland's also good for things like jays. You can usually hear them screeching in the wood. And the Welsh word for jays is screchen or coed. Apologies for pronunciation. But it translates to screech of the wood, and I quite like that. And one of the things I'm trying to do through my nature journal this year is trying to help me learn Welsh. So I'm going to bring in those Welsh names as well. And today on this walk, my boyfriend's with me, and he's a photographer and a long-standing YouTuber, so he's been trying to help me do this process because this filming is all new to me, so you'll see Chris as well today, probably in the videos. So yeah, brilliant. We'll take you along. So what I like to bring along on walks with me are things that I quite like to carry with me for ID. So I use these field studies guides. So we've got woodland plants. I also brought a mosses and lichens. And I've got a woodland tree one and a hedgerow one with me today as well. So this tree is covered in mosses and lichens. So I'm going to have a little go at using my ID chart to identify what I'm actually looking at. Some really long bearded stuff. Let's have a little look at that. Oh no, this isn't lichen, it's just mosses and liverworts. I'll have to get a lichens chart then, won't I? I think this is called something like bearded. I'm going to name it that. And so what I'll do is I'll take some photos of all of these different types of lichens on my phone, and then I'll try and ID them using, I've got the iRecord app, that's quite a good one, and also I've got a big collection of books at home as well. So let's take some photos. There is actually a little cushion of moss in here, so back to my handy chart. Let's see if I can figure that out. I think it's a common pincushion. Yeah, it's a cushion shape. Bright yellowish green cushions covered with capsules. Long setters growing on trees, dead wood or rock. I think it is. I'm going to go for that. I'll take a photo though just to make sure. The other thing I've brought today with me is a really light little box, just so I can bring any samples home with me and draw from them, hopefully. So I am going to, I'll see firstly if there's a twig on the ground that I can take home with me. If not, I'll just break a little twig off this tree with some nice lichens on so I can draw from it at home. Put that in your box for later. We've just been admiring this signpost, and we've just seen here little ladybirds. There are a few different ladybirds. Some of them are native, some of them are non-native. That's probably I think it's a 7 spot, and that's probably a native one, whereas this little one that's a bit more orangey coloured, that's probably a non-native. Oh, there's one over here as well. And as the weather warms up, the ladybirds will get more active. They've been hiding in the nooks and crannies to overwinter. Whenever you see jelly ear, you have to give it a tickle. It's so it's soft and it's quite like jelly-like. And this upside here, it's so velvety. Turn it the other way. So you can see why it's called wood ear or jelly ear. And it does look like this tree has ears. Wonder if they're listening to me. It's actually an edible fungi, and you can use it in a lot of like Asian style cooking. And I've just noticed actually up here on this bark, there's some like orangey fungi kind of growing. So I'm going to take a little photo of that, see if I can ID that as well. Might be some sort of like mould fungi. Could turn into witch's butter even. I love this woodland because there's always so much to see. And in fact, just behind me, I've just come across this lovely tree trunk covered in fungi. First impression, I would say turkey tail, but probably not. I'm going to take a closer look. So, probably turkey tail. Other place to look is on the underside of it. It does have sort of gills. This is obviously going over as well. All this decaying wood. Oh, they've even got some down here. These are what I would call dead man's fingers, but there's lots of different variations of this type of fungi. But back up the tree. Shoo! And it's growing all the way up. And see this like tree here with the decaying bits, and there's some holes. Bats are gonna love that. So this is what like really old trees give you. It's so much habitat. You've got all the invertebrates living in this decaying wood. You've got all the mycelium of the fungi, and then you'll have bats and roosting in there, and you'll have different birds as well, making nests in there and feeding off all of the invertebrates living on the old tree. I don't know what type of tree that is though, so I'm going to try and ID that. Very excited, just spotted off the path over here, little glimpse of red that's just caught my eye, so I know it's going to be scarlet elf cups. Give a little explore. Da, da. I have to be careful because all of the bluebells are starting to come up. They are really big. They're so big. Size of it. Tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna bring one over. I'll bring it out there, I think. So I think the elf cup name comes from like folk tales saying that the fairies would come and drink dew out of the cup. And if I'm right, I have heard that if you rub it with your finger, the red stains your finger, and you can use it as a blush. Not happening with me this time. It is staining this finger though. I think this one is edible as well. Whatever I say, I'm not an expert, so don't go shoving things in your mouth. But I'm pretty sure I've read up that you can use it as like a canopy. Canopy? No, a canapé. And you can put like wild garlic pesto in there. But I'll give that a little bit more research before you go foraging for things. So scarlet elfcup likes to grow on rotting, decaying wood in damp woodland. It's really nice, vivid, bright colour. And you'll probably see that from January into maybe March as well. So it's a nice winter one to see. I'm going to pop this one back so it can decay back into the undergrowth. I'm having to be careful where I walk because all of the bluebells are just starting to shoot up as well. So you've got to protect the bluebells. Pop that there. Just noticed more fungi. You've got a bit of what I think is turkey tail, but I love it when it has this ochre orange colour. It's like one of my favourite colours. Actually almost looks like a moth's wing, isn't it? And then up here you've got some other kind of fungus growing. Now if this was bigger, I'd possibly say it was like King Alfred's cake. In fact, there's some King Alfred's cake on that bit of wood just all the way over there. I'm going to go foraging. Bear with me. I just noticed a bit was falling and on the ground. So it is a possibility that that's going to turn into King Alfred's cake. And it's like very hard. And you can see inside it, it's got all of these little bands. And it looks a bit like coal. And in fact, when it's dry, you can use it like flint as a fire starter. There is a bit of folklore, I think, or reasoning of why it's called King Alfred's cake. Can't remember it at the moment off the top of my head. But yeah, nice, interesting one. And maybe one day I'll try making a fire with it. All along here is all wild garlic. This is going to be a big blanket of wild garlic. And later in the spring, it'll have big white frothy heads. And we've also got some lesser celandine, or celandine. I always call it celandine. Flowers are just starting to come up. On an overcast day, the flowers will stay closed, and then on a sunnier day, the flowers will open up. It's got this really pretty leaf with its nice variation of colour there as well. So we found some lovely hazel catkins, and they've even opened up, and you can see all the pollen in there. So this is the male part of the flower. And then hazel catkin actually has a female part, which is the flowering part here. And it has a tiny bright pink flower on there. It's really hard to show on camera. So they interact and pollinate one another. And then I'm thinking that this becomes the fruiting body and turns into a cone, which does your seed dispersal. See if I can try and get a closer up. Oh, not the greatest. I think these are also a little bit later in their growing season, but they kind of remind me of like little sea anemones. But it's really nice to see the catkins opened up as well, to see the pollen. I'm right by the river here, so you might get a bit of the background noise from the river. But I've just found some I found some Lords and Ladies or cuckoo pint. I call it cuckoo pint. I wonder if I can just get it into frame. Just here. Poisonous. And it's got, oh, I can't do this. Let's do it this way. Woohoo! this lovely shape to the leaf there, that kind of deep V at the top, these lobes. And some of them have this like speckled little black specks on them, really pretty. And you just got to be careful in case it gets amongst the wild garlic that you're not accidentally picking this leaf. As I said, it's poisonous. And then later in the year, what's going to happen in the next couple of months or so, it's going to have a big flower, big white flower appears, quite like papery thin, and it's a carnivorous plant. So that big flower has a stamen that comes up, and it'll smell and it'll attract flies, and that's what the flower is like feeding on, and that's also how it is pollinating the flower. And then that'll die over, and then you'll get a stem of red berries, very poisonous, on there as well. And they call it the cuckoo pint because cuckoo harbinger. They call it the cuckoo pint because of the cuckoo comes in spring, so it's a sign of spring. And the lords and ladies is because the flower and the stem, the stamen thing that comes up, it's quite phallic. And I've just noticed another little bit of King Alfred's cake there. Come off something lovely. And here's some more of the leaves of that lesser celandine as well. I heard the call before I saw them, and they're behind these trees, and way up high in the sky a bit there's the little call, the mewing sound of common buzzard. There's two of them. Really nice to hear. I've heard plenty of birds on this walk, but I've not seen a lot of them. And did catch a sight of a nice little cute wren, but they're so tiny that they're so hard to like get on camera. Not seen any jays, I've not heard any jays. And last year when we were here in this part of the river, we saw grey wagtail, which has actually got quite a lot of yellow on it, and it was just a lovely one. And I always keep an eye out on this type of river as well for dipper. I've never seen a dipper before, but I would love to. And also, I have picked up a pocket hitchhiker, and I've picked up a nice pine cone. I might take that home and draw from it. So that's going to be pocket. So I just wanted to go through my previous nature journal and show you what I did last February. So we can see I've got the primroses, made an appearance, and I've got my February poem. And then my what to look out for in February page. So in February, it's the time of the year where all your toads and your frogs start making an appearance, and then going from their winter habitat into the breeding ponds. So this year I've actually started Toad Patrol, helping the toads cross the road. So I know they're going to feature in this year's journal. Again, more primrose. It was a lovely year to see goldcrest. Scarlet elf cup made an appearance. And then there was also the daffodils, and I also said about the geese that have overwintered, and then they're flying back to where they've migrated from. And then I also did a highlights page. It's where we used to live. 2 years, and an oak beauty moth was seen just on the wall of the cottage within days of each other every year. And we've also had like the lesser celandine coming up. And we also visited Aberfrau on Anglesey, and we saw the short-eared owls as well. So I made a little bit of piece about that. So this is the type of thing this walk today will be inspiring, and I will do something very similar for 2026 Nature Journal. So I've done my walk around Plas Power Woodland / Nant Mill in Coedpoeth, which is Wrexham, and I've had a great walk and lots of inspiration for my February nature journal. So later on I'll go home and I'll start those February pages and put some of the good stuff that we found in there today. I'll also incorporate a few things from the nature reserve that I work at as well. Things like green alkanet and coltsfoot, I'm thinking, because I haven't found any of that here. So that'll be on the next video. I'll go home, do all the artwork, and you can like and subscribe and come back for the next video to see me doing the artsy fartsy bit. So from me and my friend here, bye, thanks.